thought you meant one of us.
No. All right, putting your arrow hat on.
My hood?
Season 3. Where are we going season 3? What's the big bad going about? What's the journey going to be like?
This year, it's really about the theme of identity, and, last season was really Oliver debating whether or not he could really be a hero. Was he a hero or was he a killer? And by the end of the year, he managed to save the day without killing. And when this year starts, he's sort of enjoying being a hero, and he's starting to feel like there might be a little bit of a life for him beyond the hood. So, I'm sure as most of everyone who cares about this has heard, Oliver and Felicity go on a date in the premiere, and it's really a microcosm of the whole season, which is that, can Oliver be Oliver Queen and the Arrow? And that's a question that he's going to be struggling with this season.
Well, we also know that Felicity is going to be doing a crossover. So, where in the timeline does that fit into the Arrow universe?
It comes at a point when Felicity and Oliver have had a discussion, and she finds it's the right time for her to take a trip to Central City.
Is that before or after the date? They're wondering how disastrous it might be.
No comment.
Might be pretty bad.
Although as bad as it is, Felicity says I've had worse, which we're actually, the way Emily delivers the line, you're almost not sure if she's kidding.
So I know you won't talk about the big bad of the season.
No.
I mean, unless you want to.
No.
Come on. But is there anybody else that you can tell us about that we might see in the first 4 or 5 episodes?
You meet Katana.
Nice.
In the premiere episode. I've always been a fan of Katana. I especially love the new costume that she has in the new 52. I just think that's spectacular. This is obviously pre-mask for her. And we also get to meet Ray Palmer, played by Brandon Routh, who one day becomes the Atom. We're really excited about this year. It's, we always look at Arrow in the seasons as like movies, and like last year was the sequel, and usually the sequel is like a little darker and a little deeper, and the threequel is usually a little bigger and a little wider, and usually has a little bit more humor in it, and so we really feel like expanding the cast and some of those changes we've made, and especially bringing on Brandon and just taking situations that previously we might have just treated with a little bit more seriousness. Like for example, Dig having the baby. It's as emotional as it's been for Dig, there's also been these opportunities for humor on the show amongst all the characters that we previously haven't explored.
Where are you going with Malcolm Merlin and Theo?
Well, it's really interesting because, I always say this to John, and Malcolm doesn't think he's a bad guy. Malcolm's the hero of his own story, and from Malcolm's perspective, he was a good guy who had a beautiful wife who was murdered and left for dead by the people in the bad part of town, and to him, what he was doing was, I don't want that to ever happen to anyone else ever again. So even despite everything that happened, and he lost his son in the process. So, from Malcolm's perspective, he sort of lost everything, his goal, his son, and now in Thea he sort of finds that, there might be some level of redemption. But as we know, Malcolm's morality is tricky. So, how that impacts Thea, how that impacts Oliver, and how that impacts, his own agenda moving forward is the fun of these episodes. But, as always, in an odd way, because Oliver has lost, Oliver and Thea have now lost Moira, and they're both, Malcolm has lost Tommy. The three of them are sort of the only family they have left in an odd way. It's a really messed up family, but it's really interesting to see how all of that plays out.
We actually get to see a lot of interaction.
Can I get one from him?
You've moved the past storyline to Hong Kong, so I'm interested, how visually do you recreate that sort of atmosphere of Hong Kong? Because that's such a particular visual feel to it, that place, especially on a TV budget.
Yeah, I mean, we have, Zoic, which is our visual effects house. They've done such amazing work. They did all the stuff with the island and the freighter last year and the helicopter sequence and stuff that was just, so far beyond anything we thought we would ever pull off. Fortunately, Vancouver and Hong Kong have a lot of similarities. They're both, they're both newer cities, and obviously both have a waterfront. So, with some, pretty cool digital trickery, and signage. I think what's really interesting is Glenn Winter, who's been our DP for the last 2 years, who's now going to be a full-time director, and he directed the premiere episode this season. He's given it all a little bit of a glow, and you can see in the trailer that it has like a tinge to it that is a new visual look for the series that we haven't had before, it's almost a little bit dreamlike in a way, which we think is really interesting. So, as always, a couple of well-placed signs, and but we made people believe that Oliver was on a deserted, deadly island in the middle of nowhere, where it was mostly shot in the forests of Vancouver. We will muddle through, and hopefully people will believe it.
I'm curious about the evolution of Thea this season, because she's been lied to, but I think she's found out
Well, I think that's sort of the irony that, like you saw at the end of the season, Malcolm says, I'll never lie to you. And in an odd way, he hasn't. And, that really has always been Thea's thing, and it started in season 1, and it came into season 2, and, one of the interesting quandaries Oliver has early in the season is, should I tell Thea the truth? And, because he's sort of felt like secrets have always been the thing that destroyed me, and there's a really interesting discussion about some truths are better than other ones, and Willa has I feel like both Willa and Katie Cassidy have been such amazing team players, and whenever we needed them to hit a double or a triple, they both of them hit grand slams, and I really feel like this season in a way is their reward, and I think for the audience as well, who have been impatient for some aspects of both of their characters, that this season is really going to see people excited for their character journeys. Katie is booked for the three episodes. We just came up with a fourth, and there's always the potential for more. She was such an amazing ad last year, and really brought the Canary to life for us, and it had such a great impact on everybody. And then on top of which, Katie Loss is just one of the sweetest, nicest, most hardworking people you'll ever see. I mean, it's whenever you see her, every once in a while it's Atlin Mitchell, her amazing stunt double, but there is a lot of Katie out there, especially if you slow it down and you watch. She really throws herself into all of that. She's an amazingly talented gymnast and dancer and martial artist. So it's really been fun. She and Steven probably, she's out there just as much as he is.
Have you given any thought to what happens should the flashbacks ever kind of catch up to the show? I mean, you got 5 years to work with, and this is year 3.
I think.
Flash forwards?
Yeah.
Flash sideways?
I think it's a little bit of jerky hubris to worry about what's going to happen.
Yeah, but you guys are totally, in 5 years. You're totally going to be there.
One of the things we started doing last season after trying it once successfully in season 1 was going flashbacks out of sequence to some of the individual characters, and we actually have even more of that this season. We have we have an episode that the flashbacks are to Felicity when she was in college. So I guess at some point, if the Oliver trajectory finally catches up to the pilot, there's other things we can do and individual things, but I think those are champagne problems, as my wife likes to say.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys.
That's my phone.
Oh, I'm